This episode is brought to you in part by the National Restaurant Association. Optimize your presence on online review sites at restaurant.org/reviews.
Welcome to another episode of On Foodable. This is one of our ticker shows where we break down some of the hottest news in the restaurant business, and we do it by asking some of the experts in the industry what's actually happening. As you guys all know, the Affordable Healthcare Act has actually taken place now and is impacting the restaurant business in a big way. We've seen reports from all over the industry, and today we've got a gentleman from the National Restaurant Association that's going to break it down for us of how this is impacting the restaurant business as a whole. So Randy, welcome to On Foodable.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Randy, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do at the National Restaurant Association.
I'd be delighted to. I don't mind talking about myself. My name is Randy Spicer, and I'm Vice President of Health and Insurance Services for the National Restaurant Association. And my prime responsibility is to better understand the needs of our members in this healthcare space, health insurance space, and then to work diligently to improve the solutions that the association is able to bring and improve opportunities for our members and their employees.
President Obama, of course, enacted the new healthcare law. It obviously affects small business, and the restaurant industry, of course, attributes a large portion of how small business is operated here in the U.S. So how can you give us kind of, first of all, for our viewers, an overview of what the new Healthcare Act really is doing and how it involves and what it does in terms of impact on the restaurant industry?
Sure. Of course, the act became law in 2010. So there have been lots of benefit changes that have already been implemented.
Right.
Things like extending coverage to children to age 26, elimination of pre-existing condition exclusions. There's been a lot of benefit changes that are already that have already been implemented and already built into products. The biggest change, though, of course, is happening with the effective date of January 1st, 2014 for the individual mandate.
Right.
Originally, the employer mandate basically requiring employers with 50 or more full-time or full-time equivalent employees to offer coverage or face a tax penalty.
Mm-hmm.
That, of course, we've got an extra year, a transition year for implementation. Those penalties won't become effective until January 1st, 2015. But
Right.
The individual mandate is still effective and affects all of us, legally working in this country as individuals as well as employers. So basically, we're required to have health insurance, or pay at tax time, pay a penalty that can be the greater of $95 or 1% of adjusted income.
So when you look at the impact on the individuals in the industry, obviously this
Yes.
is going to put some financial pressures
Yes.
on workers that are out
Yes.
there, whether they're part-time or full-time in the restaurant industry as a whole. And obviously there are solutions now that the U.S. government have put out in place in terms of being able to enroll in the different types of
Yes.
groups of insurance that are available. Do you have any insights on those for our viewers? So think of a crew person or a manager at a restaurant that would really kind of want to know what's my next step?
Right. And, because the state and federal exchanges opened for business October 1st, there's been quite a bit of buzz about accessing coverage. There's been articles and newscasts about the slow response of some of the exchanges. There seems to be a decent demand for coverage to see what products are available, what the pricing is going to be. And there's been mixed results in terms of the effectiveness of a number of exchanges. Those products, I think, for the most part, are going to be viable options for employees that do not have employer-sponsored coverage available to them. And based upon income, many of the people working in the industry will qualify for premium assistance or subsidies for their individual and family health insurance. From an employer standpoint, knowing that their employees are aware of these exchanges and these enrollment opportunities, employers need to be thinking how they're going to answer questions and have a conversation with their employees about health insurance.
Yeah.
If they offer a plan to their employees, fine. That's that path is pretty clear. If they offer coverage to their full-time people, those working over 30 hours, but do not offer coverage for those working less than 30 hours, explaining that and helping employees understand that and what their alternatives are, I think is something that good, responsible employers are all trying to figure out how to do.
Sure. Do you see any kind of direct impact on the industry over the next year, obviously, as the corporate impact starts to take effect in 2015 for companies, being the small restaurant owners and the businesses that basically meet this criteria? Do you see restaurant operators actually changing the way they deal with their HR situations to where they're looking at maybe hiring more part-time workers instead of full-time workers?
That's a great question, and I think the press has perhaps played that up, at least in my experience, more than the reality.
Right.
What I hear informally from employers is that they're just going to be more deliberate about their HR management and personnel planning.
Yeah.
And one of the great attractions of the restaurant industry has been the flexibility of work hours and the ability to adjust work hours to meet a personal or family schedule. I think some of that some of that flexibility might be lost because employers just generally are going to have to manage the hours and manage their workforce just a little bit more effectively than perhaps some of them have done in the past. I do not see, though, a huge movement to eliminate full-time jobs and only have part-time. Most business models and the people that I speak to just say that that's not a practical approach long term.
Exactly.
They're all competing for good employees.
Yeah, I think that's the point, is that though I think you're exactly right, the press has kind of, I think, overplayed the issue of that happening. Most of the operators that we talk to are like, hey, this is our model. It's how we advance people into management positions. So these full-time roles are actually more critical today than ever, in being able to grow. One thing that we have seen, though, is the question of growth. And when you look at basically a government-imposed challenge that you have to have this, and the cost is going to be there to an operator, obviously for those full-time employees, that potentially is going to slow down the growth. So especially for like a multi-unit franchisee, they're trying to grow to the next store number 2 or store number 3. And when you take that cost, which as I understand can be in the thousands of dollars,
absolutely.
Do you see that impacting the industry, the restaurant industry, in terms of growth of new units?
It's certainly getting a lot of discussion. It has to be one of the business considerations that people are dealing with. To run a restaurant successfully, you've got to be awfully good at solving a variety of problems. You can't be afraid of dealing with complex problems because there's many of them. To me, this is just another complex problem that we as humans and employers and business owners and managers, that we have to figure out how to work through. Yeah. And that's what I see most of the people that I'm in contact with doing. It's not to or to minimize the issue in any way. It is a significant cost issue. And there are any number of businesses that may have to face the hard choice of part-time work versus closing their doors. I hope that's a minimum number. I hope there's none in that category. But over the longer term, what I see employers doing and members doing is factoring this in and then figuring out how to manage through it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, getting more creative.
So I may have a bit of naive optimism there, but that's what I see happening and what I believe will occur.
Sure. So Randy, the NRA, the National Restaurant Association, recently put out a healthcare primer.
Right.
You guys, members, have access to this on your website. For our viewers, without going into all the great points that you guys make in the primer, are there some good next steps in there for operators? Can you give us a few that maybe we could kind of point to?
Sure, absolutely. Just inside the front cover, it's there's 10 things that every employer ought to be focusing on. The ones, and they're all important, but
Sure.
right now I think the more important ones, the time-sensitive ones, are understand how the law affects your employees. There's a postponement in the penalties for the employer, but understand how it's affecting you as an individual as well as your employees, and understand that. Understand the individual mandate, and that it's an issue for all of us and all of your employees. Number two, develop a strategy, if you haven't already, and many employers already have, but develop a strategy for communicating with your employees. What is it that you're going to do as my employer? And why is that in my best interest? And are you doing the best that you can as my employer? Mm-hmm. Are you just meeting the law, or are you trying to help me meet the law as well? And then third, understand your state exchanges. And there's a lot of confusion because in 36 states, as I recall, the federal government is either running the exchange or is doing it in cooperation with the state. And so in a lot of areas, employers don't believe that they're going to have an exchange. Well, whether it's the state or the federal government providing the systems capability for that exchange, there will be local health insurance plans generally approved by the state insurance department that are being offered there. And there's very, very significant premium assistance available based upon income. Getting the word out to your employees that aren't eligible for coverage for whatever reason, and helping them make an informed decision on whether they want to pursue coverage or not, I think is an important personal and employer responsibility. Understand those state exchanges and how your employees can access them.
Perfect. Well, I know that the primer is available on the National Restaurant Association's website, which is restaurant.org. You'll be able to get that link on the lower third right below me here. You can go there and learn so much more about not only the National Restaurant Association, but how they assist operators like you to understand these kinds of things as they start to hit the industry as a whole. Randy, we want to thank you so much for stopping in on this episode of On Foodable. It's been a great joy meeting you.
Paul, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Have a good day.